Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah. I am one half of the Carwells, and today we are going to be answering a ton of investment questions around short-term rentals and Airbnb that you guys submitted. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to our channel. That helps us out a lot. And without further ado, let's get into it. When we're looking for realtors, we want to make sure that they're familiar with working with investors. If I were a realtor, I would love working with investors because we are repeat clients. We're going to be coming back to you. We're going to be sending you more people. If you are a realtor and you want to get in with investors, you need to understand what they're looking for. So realtors who understand the local laws and regulations, who understand maybe how to run a quick analysis on a profitable property, who are looking for off-market deals that would be great for investment properties. All of those things play a factor into why we love certain realtors over other realtors. Stay in your property before you list it. It is my number one tip, and I did not do this with some of my properties at the beginning, and it absolutely bit me in the butt. And when we do stay in our properties before we list them, it makes such a huge difference because you get to experience the space. Make sure you cook a meal in there. Make sure you stay overnight. Make sure you shower. Don't bring all of your toiletries. Make sure you treat it as if you were a guest walking in there, and that definitely mitigates the amount of things you are going to miss. Otherwise, if you want a checklist, we sell a supply and furniture checklist on the Carwells that goes over everything that you might possibly need for an Airbnb to bring it to life. This is what Emily and I have used as our personal Bible when bringing properties to life. So if you want a checklist to reassure yourself that you've remembered everything and you aren't going to be staying in the property ahead of time, that might be a great resource for you. The cover photo and inclusive of the first 5 photos are the most important photos on your Airbnb listing, because when you pull up the listing, the first 5 photos are what's going to show across the top of your Airbnb profile. Your listing photo is so important, and what I like to do is I like to try and include the largest amenity that we have. With our property, we like to make sure that it's the exterior, that you can see it's a lake house. We include lake house in the title, and if you have any sort of seasonality where you have winter and summer, I would highly suggest changing that cover photo according to what season it is in to speak to your potential guests and really give them an accurate idea of what they're walking into. If you want to enter those competitive markets, I definitely suggest starting, if you're first starting out, in a smaller market. But if you're adamant about starting in one of those super competitive markets, I definitely suggest partnering with the right people. At Super Host Labs, if you don't want to invest in our diversified portfolio, we also have something called an STR in a box, where we will stand up a turnkey short-term rental for you in any given market. For our investors who want to invest in competitive markets and are new, they get to partner with us and know that we are experts in the space, so we will set them up and help guide them in the right direction so they are putting their best foot forward to compete with the high levels of competition that come with those super competitive markets. It depends vastly on how much actual renovation you have to do to the house. Let's say that it is a pretty turnkey property that's move-in ready. You can get it listed in under 3 weeks if you've got the right team and system set in place. For my husband and I, who just went through a pretty hefty renovation on a lake house in Michigan, and we were doing it on the side, nights and weekends, as we were still running our full-time businesses, it took us about 3 months. It varies vastly, but the sooner you get it up and running, the more money you make. So if you need to hire a team to help you to get that property up and running, I would highly suggest doing it because you're going to make money on the back end much faster. Lean on other experts. This is something that Emily and I did not do at the beginning, and me personally, investing made a ton of mistakes. So I know it can get annoying for people listening to how many courses are out there and not knowing whether they're a scam or not. I can promise you the amount of money that you're spending on a course, you will absolutely save in mistakes that you won't make by watching those trainings. I also suggest making sure you know how to analyze a deal properly. Just like fix and flip homes or long-term rentals, you make your money on the front end with the analysis that you run, so make sure that it is a good deal before you purchase it. And also make sure that you are not undervaluing the design and experience side of things. It is hospitality first, investment second. So if you don't have a heart for hospitality and you are not putting your guests first, you are not going to have a great return and you're not going to have a great experience renting. Interest rates rising is just another line item on your analysis tool. So it does make it more difficult to find a really great deal, and it is impacting impacting the overall cash on cash that we're seeing in standard Airbnb deals. With that being said, there's still great deals on the table. There still are great opportunities for Airbnb investments. So it just makes running your analysis more important. And you as a buyer, it allows you to buy less of a house. So you're not going to be able to buy as expensive as a house as you were previously. For me personally, I don't like being booked any further in advance than 3 months, depending on the market and pricing and travel. And there's so many different factors. I don't like having my calendar booked up beyond 3 months. If it's booked up beyond 3 months, that to me tells me that I'm priced too low. That may vary a little bit depending on how seasonal your property is. So if you have a property up north in Michigan, a lot of times people are booking their summer vacations in the winter. So you might look at a 6-month window of availability and just know that you might strategically price it a lot higher that far in advance. But if you're booked out 100% several months in advance, to you as a host, that should tell you that you're priced too low and you need to raise your prices. Cash on cash is a reference for Airbnb hosts to compare how their property did to other properties. What it means is your cash on cash is the amount of cash that you put in to your investment on the front end versus how much cash you are getting out of it on the back end. In 2019, we were seeing a lot of properties have a 40 or 50% cash on cash, which means that if you were originally investing $100,000 of liquid cash into your property, including your down payment, your furnishings, things like that, and at the end of the day, you made $50,000 profit in your first year, that's a 50% cash on cash. Now, for us in this current market with competition levels rising, interest rates rising, regulation getting more strict, we say that a good deal is anywhere upwards of 15% cash on cash. So depending on what type of a loan you're using will determine vastly how much money you have to put down. And also whether you're doing an ownership style Airbnb or if you're pursuing arbitrage. For my first ever Airbnb deal, it was an arbitrage deal and it was a 1-bed, 1-bath apartment in Texas. And it was super small. It was in 2019. We spent $3,500 total on furniture, decor, supplies, everything to get that property up and running. We also spent an additional about $1,500 on everything else, including the first month's rent, your security deposit, and technology. So all in for that first deal, I spent $5,000, but I didn't own the property. Whereas last year when we purchased our first owned Airbnb, we used a conventional loan with 5% down. The property was $300,000, and in total, with down payment, closing costs, furnishings, and renovations, we spent around $70,000 total on bringing that property to life. The long-term and short-term rentals have both been around for a really long time. Airbnb is just new to the game and making it easy for everyday people to get bookings on short-term rentals and to not have to build up a brand first. Long-term rentals are properties where you are buying a property, you are renovating it to make it livable, and then you are bringing in a tenant coming in to be your tenant for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and they are furnishing the property with their own furniture. The profitability on that is anywhere from $200 to $500 a month that you are actually putting in your pocket after you pay out your mortgage, utilities, so on and so forth. Short-term rentals are typically 30 days or less, and you are furnishing the property and you are hosting people for a shorter period of time, but you are offering more amenities like the furniture, like hot tubs, like lakefront properties, like pools, whatever else. And the profits for that are usually 4 or 5 times greater per month than that of a long-term renter, but it does come with a lot more moving parts. That is it for questions for today. If there are questions that we didn't answer in this episode, please drop them in the comments. We will be making more of these because they're so much fun to make and they are super informative. We wish that this would have been available for us when we first started in short-term rentals. Again, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. We put out consistent content around short-term rentals with attempts to make your journey into the short-term rental and Airbnb space easier than ours was. Catch you next time.